Lily-Radha McCormick. I really hope I pronounced your name right. Lily has dedicated the past 5 years intensely studying yogic practices and principles, the complexities of different religions, the structure and basis of developmental psychology, and how to properly translate grandiose topics to be digestible for younger minds. The ability to assist in the navigation of self-discovery humans must endure throughout this life is at the core of everything McCormick does. McCormick takes the adaptability and integrative perspectives the Eastern world offers through Chinese medicine, yoga, and Ayurveda, and combines it with the practicality and scientific research done in the Western world through psychology and neuroscience. This ensures that all teachings, practices, lessons, and theories will be well-rounded and digestible for most backgrounds. With over 1,400 hours of yoga teacher training and being a certified K-12 substitute teacher for multiple public school districts outside of Denver, CO, Mapleton, Englewood, and Sheridan, McCormick has over 5 years of experience teaching yoga, almost 7 years working in childcare, and just over a year teaching at public schools. This experience has created a well-rounded teaching approach and mindset that Lillian uniquely offers her students. Lily sees the value you have to offer to the world and wishes you the ability to see that light for yourself, thus resulting in this work. Ways to develop a human, reclaiming education for passion, purpose, and direction. Everyone, welcome Lily. Mhm. Or actually behind. There. Hi. Okay, hi guys. We've made it to the end of the first day of presentation. So really quick, can we just give a great round of applause for everybody that's gone? And it has been a lot of sitting. So if you're able to, I invite you to get up, stand up, get out of your seat, find some space. If you're in a row, maybe move into an aisle. And you can widen your stance a little bit farther than your hips. And we're just gonna start to find a little bounce. Find a little bounce in your knees and in your ankles, maybe in your hips. You can move side to side. Let your arms go. Let your weight sink into your hands. Send it all the way down. Maybe shake your head. Loosen up your neck. Look side to side. If you like, you can do some horse lips. Exhale. It's amazing to relax your jaw. Let's do that just for a little bit longer. Maybe you dance a little bit. Throw an earring out if you'd like. And we can start to make our way back to our seats. So this work that I am going to present to you guys is a culmination of a lot of things. It's really hard to put it into words because I feel like I'm not done yet. But what I decided to do for my capstone is a holistic approach to a 5th grade health class curriculum. And so I'll walk you through why I did that and my inspiration for that. And first, I decided to create 2 different collages. I know that the camera's down. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
First, I did create two different collages to kind of give you guys an understanding of what I'm doing. So my first collage, and I swear there's probably a better way that I could have done this, but this is what we got. So my first collage is a commentary on developmental psychology. We're taking a look at two different psychologists, Erik Erikson's developmental stages and also Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this was in the back if you were walking around and taking a look. But starting off on the sides, we're going to go through Erik Erikson's different stages of development that we all visit throughout our lives, starting with mistrust versus trust, establishing some type of safety within your world. And then that goes into autonomy versus guilt. This is when you're a toddler and you love to say no. Moving on, you have initiation versus isolation, or no. Oh, initiative versus guilt. So it's autonomy versus shame, initiative versus guilt. And then you have industry versus isolation, or industry versus inferiority, your way to come into a space or a community and find your purpose within it. And then moving on, we have isolation versus intimacy, stagnation versus generativity, and then integration versus despair. So these are all the different stages that we go through. There's different timings with this, and it's really important to keep this in mind when we are working with humans because we're all at different places and we're all learning different things. And then Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically our pyramid to allow us to operate in our best integrity. Starting off with just our basic needs of food, water, sleep, shelter, and then we move into safety, finding safety in your family and your community within yourself, and then moving on to some type of sense of belonging and community love. From there, it is going to be a deeper sense of love and belonging. And then hopefully you get into self-esteem, finding that purpose within yourself and understanding where you play and what you do. And then it all comes together as a holarchy, as Marcy Davis likes to say. Shout out, Marcy. Hence why I have Holy Me on the side. Who we are in our development translates into who we become. And why I bring this up is because public schools are severely missing the mark on supporting their children and students in a developmental standpoint. And it is disabling them. It's disabling our communities. So to take in developmental psychology into consideration, it is a priority. There's nothing else that we're really able to accomplish if there isn't a sense of self being built. And so a way that we can kind of inform that sense of self is through the different paths that we take. So another part of my time at Naropa was diving into the different aspects of religion. I was the president of my atheist club in high school. So to come to Naropa and study Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Sufism, and eventually coming back to Christianity, I have found so many different perspectives that are all saying the same thing. So I created this collage to demonstrate the different paths that we're all taking and how at different moments, and I'll kind of bring it up a little bit closer, but at different moments, we begin, and at different moments, we end within these paths. And so the person that is going on the same place that you started might be ending their journey, or it's their first time going. So when we hold on to our journey and our path and the things that's happened to us, we're not able to connect with those who are on a different part of the journey. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he mentions this in the second chapter, 17th verse. It is the union between the seer and the seen that is the suffering to be avoided. So, for example, if we were looking at my hand really quick and we were all asked to describe it, I'm going to say I have shiny blue nail polish on and I see different things. And then you're going to say, well, I don't see blue nail polish. What the heck are you talking about? Like, that's absolutely crazy. But we don't even realize that there's the other side of the hand. And so by emphasizing a sense of self within our students, we're then enabling them to venture onto these paths to discover new insights and create their plethora of knowledge. So, with all of this combined, how the heck do you teach fifth graders this? I don't know. I'm just trying. But I did kind of create some type of slideshow. Um, so, really, to begin with, what is holistic education? And we kind of covered that with the collages, but it is taking into consideration the development of students and taking in different perspectives. So, not just using one way of doing it, but knowing that whatever sparks your interest, lean into that because that spark is then going to help start a wildfire in your classroom. It's when you feel passionate about what you're teaching is when your students get really excited about it. Leading by example is a beautiful way to get your point across instead of telling people what to do. Because really, we try that. They do the complete opposite. But if you show, okay, well, I'm gonna go brush my teeth and, eat food and drink some water and take care of myself. And you show up every single day as a fully functioning human, people notice that. And especially your students. Your student teachers have this beautiful opportunity of being able to be in contact with their students all the time. Just really quick, show you raise your hand if you've ever accidentally called your mom or your teacher mom or dad. Because I know I have. And there's no denying the depth that teachers play in students' lives. And when we are able to see them and take a moment and look into their eyes, and maybe their interest isn't in school. A lot of the kids that I work with now want to be YouTubers or vloggers or play video games, and I literally can't wrap my brain around that. But it excites them. Why would I ever want to say, okay, well, maybe you could be a mathematician or you could be a lawyer or something? Go be a YouTuber. If that what makes you happy, that's all that matters. Our life is nothing without purpose. And so, going to the title of this presentation, How to Develop a Human, Reclaiming Education for Passion, Purpose, and Direction, that is the idea of holistic education, and supporting kids on a developmental process is to help them find their passion. What is your purpose and what direction do you want to go with? Because if you take any of those out of the equation, you're left with a whole lot of chaos or stagnation or just nothing. There's no real reason. And then we have a lot of pollution. Both mentally and literally physically. So in my curriculum, there's a few different areas of focus that I took into consideration when creating this. So in my capstone, I actually have a whole curriculum written out with a few different lesson plans. I looked at Colorado's state standards for fifth grade, and it was really fascinating. They start talking about puberty in fifth grade, which was not the case for my area. So that's really interesting. But spirituality, and again, that path, that direction is going to help inform. And I really want to emphasize teaching spirituality in a non indoctrinating way. Something that is so disconnecting for students is being told what they need to believe instead of having them find it out themselves. Then moving into biological changes. What are you experiencing in your own life? That's all that matters. That's the only emphasis that needs to happen. And if that does not happen, nothing else can connect. If we don't have that sense of self, we can't connect with other people. And so then it moves into emotional well-being. Once you have an understanding of, okay, I'm going through changes, and especially in 5th grade, you're going through changes. Your whole body, hormones, everything is changing. Life is changing. And so when we take an understanding of our emotional well-being, how to articulate when we are upset, how to articulate what we are feeling and not identify with those emotions, but just feel them, we are able to be more well-rounded and more supported within ourselves, because we are then able to offer ourselves that support instead of having to spend thousands of dollars seeing psychiatrists and therapists. Not to say that that's not a right way, it's just not the only way. There's a lot of things that we're just not doing. And we're really missing out, and we're spending a lot of money doing that. Then we move into communal orientation. So once we get that sense of self that I've been talking about, then we can make that connection with others. What role do I play? What purpose do I play? What do I have to offer? Because it's not looking at what everybody else is doing that's gonna inform what I wanna do. Maybe it inspires you, but it's knowing that what you have has value, what you like is enough, and it's interesting and it's cool and you're good at it, even if you're still learning. And so that communal orientation is really gonna help build a stronger classroom community. And we're gonna practice talking with each other. Later on, I'll go over what the curriculum will look like. And then, but lastly, we'll think about development. So how are we helping each other? How are we helping ourselves? And really, how can this expand outwards? For the lesson plan approach that I took, it was inspired by William Donaldson's article on holistic teaching approaches for university level business courses, which is really awesome to have that realm talking about holistic education. The biggest emphasis that Donaldson put was pairing theory with practice. And so it was seen often in these business courses that they would just be teaching theory and then theory and then theory and then theory. And then you take your test and hopefully you remembered everything. And then you get your grade and you move on. But what they were finding is that there was a severe lack of connection between all of these all of the material that was being taught. And then 10 years down the road, when their students or managers or running teams and run into these problems that they did go over in class, they're not able to pull those connections because it's not somatically in their body. They did not literally practice it. So you can do that in health class, and honestly, that is the place to do it. Adolescents are spending majority of their lifetime of their adolescent time in schools, and what better time to practice how do you take care of yourself. One of the lessons that I had in mind was a self-care lesson, and I would have either I would bring in toothbrushes or have the students bring in their toothbrushes, and we're all gonna go to the bathroom and brush our teeth together. And so when you put those practices into the body, you are able to create deeper connections, and then that's building deeper neural pathways for your body to know what to do. You've already done it before. So this is the lesson plan approach. I'm not really gonna go into it. As you can see, establishing knowledge, leveling the playing field is really just building that foundation and making sure that we're all on the same page. But a big emphasis of this curriculum is starting off with gathering background information. What do you already know? What matters to you? Why do you want to learn this information? Because understanding the why first gives you that clear idea of where you're at. What is your point A? And then you can start to move towards point B. But if we're constantly looking at what we don't know and we're trying to get to those areas of unknowing, we're navigating from point B to go back to point A to go back to point B. So, gathering background information, identifying overarching knowledge, and then moving into practical knowledge. Really, it's an idea of starting inward to go outward. What we cultivate within ourselves projects outwards, and it informs how we operate in the world. How we feel about ourselves is how we feel about others. How we treat ourselves is how we treat others. And educators have an amazing, amazing opportunity to be able to emphasize this in their students. And I hope that you are able to inquire a little bit deeper into yourself. Know that what you're interested in is enough. I hope these presentations today were evident of that these weird ideas that we have, there's ideas that other people have had too, and they're worth researching. So I just thank you so much for giving me your time, and I just thank you.
All right, let's give it up for all our presenters. I was going to say a bunch of things by way of closing, but Lily, actually, I think you did a really great